All right, we are live. Welcome to Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. How's everyone doing this morning? Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful day here in Salt Lake. Today we are here with Coach Modja. Coach, how's it going? How are you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Awesome. Thanks for taking the time to be here. I appreciate it. Please take a second and introduce yourself.
Nice. So I'm also glad to be here, Kenny. It's an honor. Um, so my name is Christian Mojaiso, but my clients call me Coach Modja. So I work as a Live Your Dream coach, which means that I help people to identify and live their dreams. So I have a background in math. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Um, I speak 8 languages, so I'm a hyper polyglot. I'm also a professional chess player, so I'm in the top 10% of chess players worldwide. And I get all this experience and knowledge, and I basically use it to help my clients identify, figure out their dream, their passion, purpose, and then show them how to go after it.
That is awesome. That's quite a repertoire you got going on there. You know, I'm a chess fan myself. I play sometimes, but I don't think I'd win. so, you said identify a dream, and you help others identify dreams and their passions. Correct?
Correct.
How did you identify that that was your passion?
Right. So I do several stuff. My passion is my dream is chess. Um, is to play chess at a really high professional level. Um, and then one of the things I do on the side, one of the things I enjoy doing on the side is helping people to realize their dream and make it happen. So, with regard to chess, why did I make that my dream? How did I discover that that was my dream? It's just something I always wanted to do, right? So, anytime I work with people to help them identify their dream, what I usually do is I help them to kind of get in touch with their nature, right? Everybody has a nature, certain inclinations, and they usually show up in childhood. There are certain things you enjoy more than others, certain things that stick with you and others don't, right? So, I mean, according to, for example, when Albert Einstein was a kid, they showed him a compass and he was obsessed with the compass, right? Many kids are shown a compass as kids, but it doesn't fascinate them for long. Maybe they'll play with it for like a few seconds and they're like, oh my God, there's a dead squirrel over there. And then they get distracted, they go after the squirrel, right? But with Einstein, it was like fascinated by the forces that make this thing work, right? So that was kind of an inclination of his nature, right? And physics was something that was in touch with his nature, his fascination with invisible forces, right? So when I was a kid, I was always fascinated by math and chess, right? In fact, I was obsessed with those two areas of study. And even as I grew older, the love for them never went away, right? And so I realized, okay, these things are they have a connection with my being. And so then I decided to document it, systematize it, create a plan to make it happen.
That's awesome. You know, I find it very fascinating that chess is what you love to do because it applies so well. Oftentimes chess is used in analogies. For strategy,
Yeah.
for business, for war, for whatever. You got to put the pieces in the right places at the right time.
Yeah.
And you're doing that in multiple planes. So I love that it's lined up like that. So and that's cool. Something else I wanted to ask, like with you and chess, and um, one thing that I've found that really helped is remembering that your goal doesn't mean mine is any less, or my goal doesn't mean yours is any less. correct? Your fascination, your enjoyment of chess is no less significant than anything else, than an astronaut, than a scientist, than Albert Einstein, whatever. It's those dreams and what we do with them, that have that equal starting playing field. Would you agree to that?
Correct. Yes, yes. So part of what I do when I work with people, so some people, it's easy to identify their dream, um, because they never lost contact with. But many people, they forget about it. And part of what I do when I'm with them is we identify their gift. Now, here's how it connects to what you just said there. Usually, people have a tendency to underestimate their gifts and overestimate other people's gifts, right? So, for example, imagine somebody who maybe they never really got very good grades in school, or like a C student or something, but they were always very good at working with their hands, right? So they say, well, yeah, I mean, I'm good at working with my hands, but that's nothing compared to this guy who's a super genius. He always got good grades in physics, and now he's an astrophysicist or whatever. And I mean, he's great. His dream is great. But me, this thing of tinkering with machines, it's not going to make me much money. And subconsciously, I feel that I'm kind of inferior to this guy, and that's a mistake. Every gift that we were given is a superpower, right? So, I mean, being good with machines is a superpower. Imagine how much machines have changed our entire society, right? So, if you have that skill, or naturally you've been good at working with machines, that's not something to be ashamed of. Or let's say somebody, they've never really been good at many things, but they're very good at dealing with people. Somehow, they have the ability, if they meet someone, they can put them at ease and get them to relax and trust them. That's a freaking superpower, right? If
Oh,
with I mean
absolutely.
with that skill you can do anything, right? Uh, that kind of skill would make you like the if you're good in if let's say somebody's very good at social skills, they're kind of like the conductor of an orchestra. You can get anything done, right? If you need to, I don't know, build a rocket, you'll just go and seduce rock engineers, like aeronautical engineers. And if you need, I don't know, some finance guy, you know how to seduce him and bring him to your team. That's tremendous power, right? And so this is the thing: people like to have low self-esteem, and they like to underestimate their gifts and capabilities, right? They don't see their capacity in its true nature. But everybody has a superpower. The creator made sure of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally believe that. And he didn't do it just on a whim.
Yeah.
He specifically, okay, you for this for this purpose, this time, this place.
Yes.
I strongly believe that. And
All right.
I used to be, in some parts of me still is that, oh, because I do this, I'm not as good as this person over here. But now I'm getting to the point, and I've learned and understand that we're all part of a big puzzle.
Yeah.
If we want to build a rocket, you need the scientist, you need welders, you need mechanics, you need
Yeah.
to
A
make this
lawyer.
a lawyer. You need transportation people to move the rocket from the building site to the launching site, because
Yes.
otherwise it's a pretty lawn ornament.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know um in fact, I used to tell some people that were really good with computers. This is in a way not a nice thing to say, but it kind of put them in their place, and I think it's fitting here. That they used to think they were high and mighty because they could do some great things with computers and stuff. And they look down on the plumbers and electricians. I'm like, well, how good is your computer without electricity?
Correct. Correct.
you know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
so if we come with it with the right vision, the right mindset, that we're all a piece of the puzzle somewhere. If your piece is clear down here in the corner, it doesn't make you any less important than the piece up here.
Correct. Correct.
Or in an article I'm writing, excuse me, the foundation that's underground where you park your car, how critical is that to the skyscraper at the top? So I like how you bring that up, that we're all part of a puzzle. We all have the pieces that we're supposed to play and to help move mankind as a whole forward.
Right. So yeah, here's like an image I usually use to kind of demonstrate this idea. So in chess we have grandmasters. A grandmaster is a strong chess player, very strong. Now a grandmaster never makes random moves. I mean, he'll make a move and it might seem random to you, but if you ask him why did you make that move, there's a reason. Nothing's random, right? Only weak players make random moves. Like, why did you do it? Oh, it felt good or whatever. But Grandmaster always has good reasons for doing stuff. Nothing's random, right? Now, I like to think of the creator of this existence that we have, the sun, the stars, the one that causes a seed to turn into a tree, a fetus to turn into a full-blown human being, and so on. I like to call this guy, the creator, the great grandmaster, right? So obviously, the great grandmaster doesn't make random moves, no way, right? And you are one of his moves, right? So he strategically placed you in this era with your particular skill set, your race, your specific parents. Everything was not random because it's super smart, right? To create the entire universe and existence, you got to be really smart, right? And so you're basically perfect for whatever you are meant to do. Part of your job is to figure out, hey, why did you put me here? What am I supposed to do exactly? Right? And if you really ask that question and you go deep, you will find an answer. You'll figure out exactly what you should be doing. And you'll find that you have within you all that is necessary to make it happen.
I
And
love that.
every human being is a genius. Every human being is a genius, but the genius is different. Right? There's many forms of genius, but every human being has something. The great
Yeah.
grandmaster made sure of it.
Thank you. I love how you said there are many forms of genius. There's not one definition,
No.
or not one field, or not one area of genius. You know,
Yes. Yeah. A genius is a superior performer, right? But superior performance exists in many domains. You could be a superior performer in terms of dealing with people. You could be a superior performer in terms of raising children, the next generation. You could be a superior performer in science or athletics, uh, in the area of plumbing, in the area of architecture. There's there's so much, there's genius in so many areas, right? But people always think to themselves, I'm average, I'm normal, and that guy is the genius. Not true. Not true. And this limited thinking is what makes sure that basically the richest place on the planet then becomes a cemetery, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of that. The richest place is not the oil mines or diamond wells, but the cemetery, because people's genius is buried there. It never came out because they did not believe in it and they did not pursue it.
I've never heard that. I like that.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and
The
and
stock
that
market is not the richest place. Yeah.
no, and that brings up another point of what do you place true value in? What is your money is valuable only because we place money or value on money. I've got
Yes.
I've got some fake money here that I use for my son and helping him accounting and whatever, and just some visual aids and stuff. But it's the same basic material in the sticky note. You know,
Paper.
maybe even
Right.
came off the same printer kind of thing. So value is where we place it. Is it here? Is it here? As you indicated, the main value is up here. So I like how you pointed that out. and how important it is to help others see that. A lot of times we don't recognize the value in ourselves. We don't recognize the value that we contribute. We don't see the we see the big skyscraper, but we don't see the foundation that's holding the whole thing up.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a low self-esteem, um, poor self-concept. That's the biggest problem we have on the planet with human beings. Uh, People just look down upon themselves. I'm not that smart. I'm average. I'm normal. I have to be realistic. I have to be practical. Nobody in my family has ever done this, and so on. I suck at public speaking, and so on. People just have terrible self concept, poor self esteem, right? They inherited their parents' self esteem, which was poor. And as a result, they never amount to much, right? And it's rare to find people who have good self esteem. Uh, these people come across as assholes, even, right? Because they believe they're important, right? They believe they deserve things, right? I deserve to succeed. It's my destiny to succeed. Of course, I deserve to have millions of dollars, right? Of course, if something is done, I have to be the best. It's where else I belong at the top. No, other people should serve me, and so on. It looks very arrogant, but people who have this attitude at the top of society. And if you're at the bottom and you take this attitude, it's only a matter of time before you rise to the top. It's inevitable.
So how do you identify that you have that poor attitude? A lot of people, they don't even see it in themselves. It's just the way it is, and they don't even recognize that they can change it.
Right. So a really smart guy in the past named Jesus said, "By their fruits you'll know them." So if I want to know what you think about yourself, I don't need to ask you. All I gotta do is look at your results. Your results tell me the whole story, right? If you're getting F's on your exams, tests, I already know you have low self-esteem. You don't even have to tell me about it, right? If in your field you're at the bottom, I know already that you have a poor self-concept. And the guy at the top, like let's say the guy who's the best at what he does, uh, I already know that that's the result of a certain self-concept. He believes that he should be at the top. He expects himself to be at the top. I know that already without asking him any questions. So if you look at your results and they're not good, then that means you have a poor self-concept. And you have to change your self-concept, or else you'll never. Your self-concept is like a thermostat. It's an example of something called a cybernetic mechanism. Basically, what that means is uh, your self-image is kind of like a target, and it measures deviation from it. So, for example, if I believe that I am middle class, I'm a middle class person. So that's my self image. I'm middle class, right? If let's say for some reason I win the lottery and earn a lot of money, the self image will pick that up and say that's abnormal. I'm a middle class person. I'm not rich, and so I'll find a way to squander all the money until I go back to being middle class again. Right? So the self image is controlling my results. It's making sure I never deviate. It's a prison, actually, right? And maybe one day I go to work and I get fired from my job. Right? I'm like, oh, geez, now I have no money. They're threatening to take the house. I say, no. The self image picks that up. It says, no, I'm middle class. I'm not homeless. I'm middle class. Automatically, the self image pushes me to work harder, apply for more job opportunities. Eventually, I find a job, I get the money, and I get back to earning $40,000 a year or whatever. And now I'm back to being middle class. So everybody has the self image, the governor. Uh, and your results will tell you what your self image is. And if you don't change them, it doesn't matter how hard you work, how many advantages you get, your self image will always ensure that you remain at the bottom.
Exactly. It's gonna pull you back to where you're comfortable.
Yes.
Just like you said, the thermostat in your house.
Yeah.
How do you help people, or how do people recognize the proper self image? Because so often we fall into the trap. I'll be happy when, if I just
Mhm.
get that job promotion, or if I get that new car, or whatever. That's they think that it's dependent on some outside um, material object, opportunity, somebody else's decision. How do you help people recognize and understand that it's within themselves?
Happiness, right?
Happiness.
Yes, you are right, right? Happiness is completely manufactured internally, right? So now there are many forms of happiness. We could talk about being happy at all times, right? Basically, if you had total mastery of your mind and body, you'd be happy every single second of every day, right? So if you look at individuals like there's certain individuals like Sadhguru, enlightened beings, for example, who have total mastery of their mind. They're joyful all the time, right? So I don't know how to do that, right? How to make someone joyful every single minute, for example. I don't know how to do that, right? But there are certain things that you can do to have a joyful life. It doesn't mean you're always happy every single second, right? So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and there are certain things which, if you don't do them, will basically keep you in misery. Let's say your life has no purpose. If your life has no purpose, then you're going to be miserable, right? If, for example, you're not moving towards your dream, you're going to be miserable, right? If you make the change and you figure out what your dream is and you move towards it, that brings a certain joy in your life. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy every second. I'm not saying that, but it's going to bring a certain joy and hope. Even your life is filled with hope, right? If, let's say, I'm at a crappy job, I really hate this job, and I have nothing to look forward to, right? Let's say, for example, I don't have an image of myself as a millionaire in 5 years, let's say. So then this job becomes really unbearable. It's going to be like this every single day, and it's going to get worse until I retire. But if I'm in a crappy job with an abusive boss or whatever, and maybe my relatives are insulting me, but in my mind, I can see this vision of myself as a millionaire, that vision will give me hope. And my situation will not be so unbearable. I'll still keep my head up under the worst conditions. So this is what I do with people. But with regards to baseline joy all the time, that's like, I think that's like the domain of maybe some forms of meditation, maybe. But that's not my area of expertise, meditation and so on. Not really. Yeah.
So, but no, finding what lights your soul on fire, I think, is a key thing that you pointed out here. Because if you have that vision of your
Yes.
dream, you use the example of a millionaire. Your
Yeah.
dream could be living on a beach. Your dream could be traveling in an RV. Your dream could be staying at home with your kids. Your dream can be whatever. And if you're in line with that dream, with that thing that sets your soul on fire, that's what's going to elevate your self-image, right? It's
Of
not
course.
not always based on the new job, or the Ferrari, or the jet, or whatever. Those can bring you some happiness and some joy, but not long lasting or sustained if it's not in a
Yes.
line and set your soul on fire. And a lot
Yeah.
of people, unfortunately, I was in this boat myself, thought that those outside things, like the lottery winner that blows through their millions in 3 years. It's because those
Yeah.
things didn't really bring them joy. They didn't know how to handle it. They went back to where they're comfortable, like you talked about earlier.
Hmm.
So I appreciate you bringing that up and pointing that out. Because you got to find what sets your soul on fire. And as we talked about earlier, what sets my soul on fire may not be the same as yours, or theirs,
Yeah.
or
It, it
theirs.
it usually isn't. It usually isn't. That's the thing. We're so accustomed to Do people curse on your show? Is it, can you use explicit language on the show or not?
Please don't. We prefer not.
Okay. All right. It's a clean show. All right.
Clean show.
Yes. So yeah, we hear a lot of stuff, right? We're accustomed to listening to all those around us, right? And as a result, we kind of lose contact with what matters most to us. If your father will tell you what you should be, what you should value. Your mother will tell you that, and your brothers will. And when you go to school, the teachers will tell you what you should be, and the TV will tell you what you should value, and Facebook and so on. So people are so accustomed to being told what to do, what they should value, that they lose touch with what truly matters to them. Right? And this creates tremendous misery. Right? Many people going to work just because of the money, which is a bad reason to do anything. Just, oh well, I heard that it pays well, so I'm going to do it. No, you want to think about what you truly want out of life, because the life itself is brief. It goes by really fast. So we want, and it's the most valuable thing we got. So we want to figure out what truly matters to me, and let me invest my life into that. Uh, and then later on, you could think. Sometimes it happens that your dream also benefits you financially. Sometimes it doesn't. In which case, you just have to think of, well, how can I earn enough to still do it? And then you could figure out how to do it. But you can't just start with money, or just basically you can't just. It's a shame when a human being is focused on survival. This is sad. Like when you're focused on just surviving, making money, putting food on the table, feeding, paying the kids' school fees, you're focused on survival, and you're living like an animal. That's all animals do, is survive. Right? And survival, look, an earthworm can survive, a dog can survive. You don't need a complicated human brain to survive, right? So
Mm-hmm.
survival is not hard really for a human being. It's not difficult to survive, right? But people make it such a big deal, right? And that's why a human being should always target, the target of a human being should be beyond survival. It's about your dream, it's about thriving, it's about doing something truly spectacular with this life, not just surviving. Come on. But unfortunately, most people everywhere are just trying to survive. This is the same in Canada, America, Europe, Africa. People are just surviving. They're setting the bar too low.
Yeah, and you certainly not. What's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, just implying greed. Certainly not implying greed, but we should desire more, because if our heart's in the right place, this is my belief. If our heart's in the right place and we follow what sets our soul on fire, then we're gonna achieve more anyways, and it's gonna be we're gonna want to serve others. It's gonna be
Well,
the
yeah, yeah.
for
So look, I'm not even against selfishness, because it's funny. But uh, if you become truly selfish, which means you really go after what matters most to you. If you do that, you're going to provide tremendous value to others. So, like most people, just they don't go after what matters to them. They're not selfish, and they think in that way they're great people. Like, instead of following my dream, I'm going to go and just serve food at the local soup kitchen. I'm going to give food to the homeless, right? And that's somehow great. No, 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 no. Go after what matters most to you, because what matters most to you is also valuable to others. Right? I mean, think about some of the most selfish people. Albert Einstein, very selfish. He went after his dream of being a physicist to the exclusion of everything else. Michael Jordan, very selfish. He went after the basketball rings to the exclusion of everything else. Kobe Bryant. Nelson Mandela was very selfish, right? All he cared about was his dream of liberating South Africa, right? And he sacrificed time with his family. He didn't spend time with them. I mean, his kids were upset at him, but hey, it's what was necessary to achieve his dream. But look at what the dream did for others, you see. right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm not don't I'm really not encouraging. It's just there are many concepts we've been taught, but it's important that we think about them, like contentment as well. You should be grateful, never content, right? Discontentment is a creative state, right? And wanting more is a great thing, right? Because if you want more, you have to become more to get what you want. And when you become more, you can be of greater service to others.
I love that, and there's so many definitions to things that we have to, make sure we're clear on how we're doing it, or go back to the one where the true one, or the actual concept that we're doing. Like you said, selfish to become a better person, not selfish me 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 me. Because um, if you're growing, then you're gonna help others grow and be better person all around. If you're doing it, that definition of selfish. So I like how you pointed that out. Um, just like the word gold digger, I've heard. We all know the first definition that comes to mind was gold digger. But
Yeah.
another definition I've heard is if you dig for the gold, for the good, for the value in others, and be that kind of gold digger.
Mm.
So there's so many skewed definitions out there. So thank you for
Yeah,
pointing
yeah.
that out.
Well, here we're not even changing the definition, right? With selfishness. Selfishness means to just care about yourself, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean,
So,
maybe not
I,
definition, but like intent
mm,
behind it.
yeah. Well, the intent behind it can be yourself, but if you do it, you'll end up serving others. It's like, let me see. Because look, think about what it takes to be selfish. You have to really sit down and think about what do I want? Me personally, as Kenny, what do I want? Forget about others. What does my wife want? What does my son want? What does the community want? Forget that stuff. What do I want as Kenny? You really ask the question, right? Right. What kind of relationships do I want to have as Kenny, right? Forget about what others think. If I really go after the relationships I want, what kind of relationships do I want? I want joyful relationships, right? I want to interact with people who are smart, maybe people who are advancing in life. I want to interact with kind, friendly people, and so on, right? I mean, if I go after that, let's say my selfish relationship goals, I go after them, right? What's going to happen, right? Obviously, if I want to interact with kind and loving people, I myself must become kind and loving. Otherwise, if I am not, then I will repel kind and loving people and attract the opposite type of person. Like,
Exactly.
look, the person who is laser focused on what they want and they go after it completely, totally, that person is admirable. And eventually they're going to benefit everybody. So, the issue I have a problem with people who claim to be, selfless, caring, and they don't go after what matters most to them. These are the most, it's not surprisingly, but these are the people that cost the planet the most. Right? They really do what they do. They don't do what they could have done for the planet and for humanity, and they hide behind labels. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, the wealthiest place is a graveyard,
Cemetery, correct.
cemetery. Yep.
Yes.
Um, um, I had a question, but I think we already kind of answered it. Is should you be balanced or be obsessed?
Yes, yes. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Um, so if you want to live an average life, then be balanced. So, but if you want to do something spectacular in life, obsession is the only way. Think about people who did spectacular things on this planet in all areas. Okay, so in religion, Jesus Christ, right? Spectacular performer, right? I mean, he founded a religion 2,000 years ago that's still dominant today, right? With more Christians today than we've ever had, perhaps in history. I'm not sure about that, but still it's a very power. It's the dominant religion on the planet, right? I mean, if you read the Bible, you'll find that Jesus was obsessed with his work. That's all he focused on, right? It's all he did all the time, praying, forming the disciples, and eventually was so obsessed with the dream that he died for it on a cross, right? I mean, that's like the ultimate obsession, right? You're not going to give up your life for something you don't care about, right? Any superior performer in any field. I mean, like right, politicians. Nelson Mandela was obsessed with his work. Albert Einstein, obsessed with his work. Any great actor that you admire, obsessed with their work. Uh, the people who are great, who really like whatever their field is, people who dominate their field are obsessed. They sacrifice everything, to do it. Maybe even time with family, relaxation time, weekends, holidays, Christmas, all of it sacrificed for one thing. So that's the price to pay to be great. But if you're looking to have more like a normal life, a pretty good life, then you can be balanced. Yeah.
There's a quote, and I forget who said it, and I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm paraphrasing. Is go after something to the effect of go after or have a dream that you would give your life for because you're
Right.
already giving your life for something. If you're
Yes.
just working a job, you're giving time of your life for that. If you're not doing anything, you're giving time of your life for that. So have a dream that is equal to, giving your life worth. Or, I
Yeah.
totally butchered it, but I think we get the concept.
Yes. Another way to say it is another way to say the exact same concept is this: you're not trying to find something to live for. You're looking for something to die for. Uh, so that's really what you have to like. Is there something you care about so much that you're willing to die for that thing? Are you willing to give your life for something? That's what you need to find, and everybody has something like that, right? They're willing. Even the laziest person, they have something they're willing to die for. Maybe they'll die for their kid, right? Maybe they might be in all ways unimpressive, but maybe they'll die for their kid, right? So that's something they truly care about.
Absolutely. So dream big, dream often, and keep refining that goal. Keep going after that goal. Coach Modja, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. If people wanted to connect with you, where could they find you?
Oh yeah, okay. Actually, so that's good because at the moment, for people who are listening or watching this, I am offering the opportunity to chat with me for free about your dream, what's stopping you from achieving your dream, and how you can accomplish it. So I am offering actually 30-minute sessions where we can talk for free about this. And the way to reach out to me for that is to just send me an email, mojaiso@gmail.com. Could you put that in the description or so that people could get it? My email address.
Yeah, just make sure I've got the spelling right. Will you spell it out for me and I'll put it in?
Okay. Modjaiso at gmail.com. Did you try saying it again? Just make sure you got the pronunciation, the spelling right. It's weird to write it.
Modjaiasio.
Oh, oh no,
ISO.
no, no. It's like Modjaiso. So like you see Moja, that's already written here, Coach Modja, Moja, and then you just add ISO.
Is that correct? Sorry, I don't have it right in front of me, so I want to make sure this is
Correct,
correct.
correct. So that's
Okay,
yeah, it's written
perfect.
correctly. Yes. Oh, but not Gmail, right? What did you write? Double L
Oh,
for Gmail.
oh. So, just you go with the flow on a live show, right?
All right, all right. Yes, yes. So yeah, I do have limited spots available for this. I'll only be able to, since I'm very busy, just the first seven people to reach out to me will be the people I'll be able to offer this to. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So anyone that is listening live, the first 7 people, anyone on the replay, send them an email and see where it goes from there. Either way, I'd highly recommend connecting with him on some form or another. He's got a lot to share, a lot of experience, a lot of insight. Again, Coach, thank you for taking the time to be here, and everyone, thank you for taking the time to tune in. And please live your passion, fulfill your purpose, and explore those possibilities.
Yeah, Kenny, it was great being on the show as well.
Thank you. I much enjoyed it.